Welcome back to episode 108 of the ATD Baseball Podcast. As you can tell, we are in the holiday spirit. This was not planned, by the way. I want to get that off the bat. Like, we did not sit here a week ago, like, hey, we should wear our ugly sweaters and Santa hats with our teams on them. I just came in here like at 3:30 when we usually record on the West Coast. Kyle was in his lovely Yankee sweater and hat, and I was in my Dodger sweater and hat also. So crazy how that works. So yes, we are in the holiday spirit. Um, you're gonna be listening this tomorrow, Christmas Eve. Christmas is this week on Wednesday. Um, yeah, we got things that we want to talk about and discuss. But before we get into that, Kyle, how are you doing? And I guess first of all, Merry Christmas. Let's start there. I probably should have mentioned that off the top, but
Of course, Merry Christmas to you and your families as well,
same to
Melo.
yours.
Yeah, it's been good, man. I work for a school district, so obviously I'm on Christmas break right now. This is great. I get to fully put my focus on baseball. Absolutely love when that happens. Um, yeah, we're feeling festive today, right? And Christmas right around the corner. Um, my Yankees have been giving me some Christmas presents over the last few weeks. I'm liking what they're putting together. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Um, Other than that, man, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Well, you mentioned a second ago that the Yankees have already given you some Christmas gifts. Listen, I got my Christmas gift already right here. I already got my Christmas gift. Now, I'm a spoiled kid that wants more, but this
Understandable.
is this is pretty this is pretty cool for right now. And you're going to see this again next week for the new year. So, just bear with me, but um doing well. Like I said, we're in a festive mood. Uh Still waiting. I can't believe how annoying this is becoming. Is Teoscar like? Can you just make a decision already, please? Like, I think this is like the third or fourth week that I'm coming on here annoyed with Teoscar Hernandez. You know how annoyed I've gotten? I haven't been able to watch any of his highlights of this year because I want to know what he wants to do. Seriously, like, make a decision. But doing well. Got to do some things last week. Already started hanging out with family, so hung out with a friend last week. So I'm getting out of my comfort zone a little bit. Usually, I'm the one that's staying home all day, playing video games, not doing anything. But I'm getting out of the house a little bit more, which is good because when I've mentioned this to you. I mentioned this to you and people that are listening. I work at Dodger Stadium. Obviously, they're not in season right now, so I'm not as socially active as I am during the season. And I do say that because I enjoy my job. Like, I enjoy what I do. And just so, you know, and I'm constantly having to deal with thousands of people every single day. So I do consider that being social. So, um, yeah. So getting back outside a little bit before the holiday season, but yes, we have stuff that we want to discuss here today. Um, a lot of trades and a lot of signings have happened within this whole week. We mentioned this last week. We thought when Teoscar Hernandez signed, I mean, when Juan Soto signed with the Mets, we thought everything was going to start falling. Everything was going to start, players were going to start moving. Hasn't been that case until maybe within the last like 3 or 4 days, starting to pick back up again. But we have some major signings and some major trades that we want to get into today. Um, you have an option. You want to do pitchers? Or you want to do hitters first?
Um,
And these are the big ones, by the way.
yeah, yeah. Obviously, the way we're going to do it today, we're going to talk about the big pitchers who had signed, and then we're going to go into the next topic with the hitters, and then we'll kind of cover some smaller signings, give us a brief little description of what we think how the signings are going to work out, things like that. But I think before we get into anything, uh,
Yes.
I think we should address Rickey Henderson. He had
Yep.
passed away just the other day at the young age of 64. Um, yeah, there's not enough good things you can say about this man. He was a professional on and off the field. Um, Perhaps the greatest leadoff hitter that this game has ever seen. Um, Yeah, I mean, Ricky Henderson, like you think of him, the personality, the ball player, and the person. He changed baseball. He brought a swag to baseball, and he really just put it on the map. And he wasn't afraid to express himself. And until the day he died, he was the same exact way. And I know you and I have seen him personally in Cooperstown when we were up there for the inductions the last couple years. Um, he's a great guy, man. He embodied everything it was to be a ball player, and he changed the game on the base paths. And like I said, one of the greatest hitters, if not the greatest leadoff hitter of all time. Um, he's going to be greatly missed. It came to a shock with me personally. We just saw him a couple months ago up in
Yep.
Cooperstown. You know, um, he's a great man, great ball player. Can't say enough good things. He's going to be missed, and he made a huge impact on the baseball diamond. Um, we obviously wish his family nothing but the best, and we're gonna remember Ricky Henderson the best way we know how, and that was just his personality and a ball player, man. One of the greatest to ever do it, and obviously, rest easy, Ricky, and condolences to the family.
Yeah, very well said. The resume speaks for itself. Hall of Famer, MVP, 10-time All Star, 2-time World Series champion, Gold Glove, 3-time Silver Slugger, and an ALCS MVP. And you mentioned a second ago how he would always show up for the Cooper's Down inductions, and and remember, Ricky Henderson had been out of the league for about maybe 15, almost 20 years. But still a big draw in Cooperstown.
Oh yeah,
Like when so for people that don't know, or maybe you do know, every year the Saturday before the ceremony on Sunday, they have a big parade in the town. It goes all the way through the street, and you can line up. It's a free event. You can line up, and you can watch the Hall of Famers come in these get carried in these trucks. They're seated on these trucks with their families, and they go all the way to the front of the museum before they head on into their dinner, their yearly dinner that they do with the Hall of Famers. And for some, like, don't get me wrong, they're all everybody who shows up is a Hall of Famer, God of the game, everything. But for some Hall of Famers, when they show up, it's different. You can feel it. Like Jeter's one of those guys, Mariano's one of those guys, David Ortiz has become one of those guys. Ricky Henderson too. You would see him, like, there would be this big, huge ovation, and it's like you almost kind of know who it is. There's like 5 players you can think of, like, oh, this is probably him, and sure enough, it's Ricky Henderson, and you know, you even get that from kids who never watched him play. Like, they know who he is, they know what he did, and people go crazy. So, um, yeah, obviously, like I just mentioned, the resume speaks for itself. Um, you know, over 1,400 stolen bases. That's the all-time record. Played 25 seasons. Played for a lot of teams, man. Played for a lot of teams. Oakland, New York. Um, trying to, I have it in front of me. I'm trying to skim through. Played for Toronto, Anaheim, Mets, Seattle, Boston, Dodgers. That was his last team. Um, and it's sad because Oakland just lost. Like, how much more you know pain can the city of Oakland take? He's an Oakland native.
yeah,
He's from Oakland, California, and went to school there and everything. And he ended up, um, um, he went to high school in Oakland, ended up with the A's and all that. Um, and then fast forward 2024, they lose their baseball team, and they lose arguably one of the faces of that franchise, all in 2 months. Like, how much more pain does the Oakland fan base have to take? I've seen beautiful tributes from players, former players, teammates of his, and coaches, and everybody says the same thing. Like, you can't say any bad things about him, and you all you can say is good things, and he'll be dearly missed. He really will be, and it sucks. 'Cause that's another legend that we lost this year.
yeah.
We've lost some heavy legends this year. in baseball.
It has become far too frequent. This was definitely a tough year for baseball fans when it comes to losing the legends, man. Um, these are guys who, just obviously just or Orlando Cepeda, Pete Rose, Rickey Henderson,
Willie
and
Mays.
Billy Mays. Like
These
those
guys
are some
changed the
names
game.
that- yes, 100%. And they're all going to be greatly missed. And yeah, unfortunately, that's part of life. And the best thing we can do is remember them. And the good thing
Yes.
for us is, you know, we we get a piece of that history every year up in Cooperstown. So those are some names that I know I'm going to be looking for in the display cases, just to you know reminisce on childhood memories, man. And obviously stories of these players. I obviously didn't watch many of them play, but trust me, I got family members who speak very, very highly of these players, and it impacts the game. I'm a baseball fan. I absolutely love the sport, and when you lose the greats, it's heavy, man. It weighs heavy. So yeah,
Yep. Very well said. Rest in peace, Rickey Henderson. Um, Shifting gears to the stuff with the free agents. So again, I mentioned it to you earlier. Where do you want to start? Pitchers
yeah.
or hitters?
Let's start with some pitchers here. We'll go that way.
Okay. You gonna you gonna twist the knife right away. It's all right. Let's
Listen,
just get it over with.
you
Let's get
beat
it over with.
my Yankees in the World Series. I got to give you some jabs every once in a while, man.
It's okay. You can jab me all you want. You can't take this away. It's all right. That's fine. I'll die with this damn thing if I have to.
And understandably so, man.
We'll start with the pitchers, just so I can get this out of the way and not take 40 minutes here. Walker Bueller signed with the Boston Red Sox today. Um, my brother actually woke me up to tell me that. Yeah, it was like 7 in the morning. I'm like, well, what are you talking? I thought it was Teoscar. I'm like, did
Mm,
he? I thought it was Teoscar to Boston, but then it was Bueller. I'm like, oh shit. Um, I mean, honestly, I'm when we made our prediction, I said that the Dodgers would re-sign him.
mhm.
It was kind of a long shot, to be honest with you. Like, it didn't seem like the Dodgers were. I was telling my mom today, like, I think the only way the Dodgers would have brought back Walker Bueller if he just had no market anywhere else.
Yeah.
Which, you know, from the rumors and everything that we heard, um, somebody was gonna give Bueller something. Dodgers didn't want to give him the qualifying offer, which we found out a month ago that Bueller would have taken. He would have taken it from the Dodgers, but I understand. It sucks if you're a Dodger fan. It sucks. You know, I mentioned it in the video that I put out today. This was a guy that I thought was going to be here for his whole career. Like when he was coming through the farm system, when he made his debut in 2018, like we thought, all right, this is Clayton Kershaw 2.0. This is the guy that's going to be here leading this team, leading this pitching staff for the next 15 years. Unfortunately, injuries are a big part of why his career has kind of derailed a little bit. I'm not saying it's been successful. Listen, he has 2 world championships and he's contributed both of them. But there was a point of time 3-4 years ago where he was considered one of, if not the best pitcher in the sport. And he was in line for a massive payday.
Oh yeah.
Had you told somebody in 2019, 2020 that, hey, when Bueller hits free agency in 2024, he is only going to get a 1 year, $21 million deal, you would have said, what happened?
Yeah.
Well, Max Scherzer happened and injuries happen. Um, yeah, I'll never get over that. Max Scherzer, you will pay for your sins one day. Um, um, but I really believe that had Bueller stayed healthy, I really think the Dodgers would have re-signed him and gave him a long-term contract years ago. I really think so. But it's gonna feel weird not seeing 21 in the dugout next year because he's been a big part of this team for years, and he's been you know He's a big game pitcher. He's been a big game pitcher. Um, when he was never afraid to take the ball. And even this year, his story, his 2024 story was, you know, I would have never seen that coming. At the beginning of the year, Walker Bueller came back and he was not good. He was not good, and he said it himself. They don't give contracts to to pitchers with a 6 ERA, so they don't have to worry about somebody like me. And for him to figure it out, pull it together, and for him to have an incredible postseason and get the last 3 outs of the World Series, and with the famous picture of him putting his arms in the air, like I'm never gonna forget that. I'm never gonna forget that, and it's gonna suck when we have opening day in March, and we're getting the rings and we're unveiling the banner, and Bueller's not gonna be there, and that sucks. And he's not even gonna get a warm welcome from the fans, because when the Dodgers are going to Boston this year, so they'll present him with his ring over there in Boston, but it's not gonna be the same. It's not gonna
Mhm.
be the same. But um, I don't blame Walker Bueller. I don't blame him at all. Like, hey man, like you did your thing with us. Go get your money, man. I completely understand it. And listen, um, I honestly thought some team would give him 2 to 3 years. I wasn't expecting a 1 year. This is another 1 year prove it deal for Walker
Yeah.
Bueller. This is what that is. So if he performs well, which I think he will, he's gonna get a nice payday next year. So um, I'm sad. It sucks that we're losing Walker Bueller, because again, he was one of these homegrown guys. We drafted him. He went through the farm system. Came when we called him up, made a huge impact. So, um, you know, thanks for everything, Walker, and best of luck in Boston. And we'll never forget everything, man. Like Dodger hero, and I don't want that to go unnoticed. Dodger hero, putting his free agency and his arm on the line to go pitch in a closeout game of the World Series to help us win. Never forget that. I'll never forget it. And who knows? Maybe Bueller will be back with the Dodgers down the road somehow. You never know. But for right now, it sucks. But again, from a baseball standpoint, I understand it. We got a lot of. Now, listen, the Dodgers proved last year that you can never have enough pitching
Yeah.
with all the injuries that they had, but it just makes sense. Like we have no room in this rotation. And the Dodgers are still trying to get Roki Sasaki. And, I don't know how true these Corbin Burns rumors are, that he's willing to take a low years for a high AAV. So maybe the Dodgers are interested in that also. But we'll see. But I understand it, but it sucks.
Yeah, no, you pretty much summed that up perfectly. I'll just kind of give my quick thoughts on it. Um, Obviously Walker Bueller has been bitten by the injury bug. His seems like his entire career. Um, but this is still a guy who can produce in a pitching rotation.
Yep.
Let's not forget that here. And I think he's going to a rotation where he's gonna get the innings. He is going to get that ball every fifth day as long as he stays healthy. Um, and I think he's going to put together a very nice season, and I think he's going to be up for a payday next year. And I also think Boston's like the perfect place for him to do so.
Yep.
He gets that place in the rotation, and he's your second best pitcher behind um, Garrett Crochet,
Crochet.
and they're forming a nice pitching rotation up there in Boston. As much as I hate to say it, but good for Bueller. It makes sense for both sides. I feel that Bueller has, as much as I hate to even talk about this, Game Five of the World Series, when Walker closed that out, I felt like that was his closing moment as a Dodger. Yeah, yeah, whatever. Yeah, he closed out the World Series, but he also closed out his career as a Dodger. Um, and
Yeah.
now I think the Dodgers got everything they could out of him for what he's been through, and I feel like Bueller's done the same. So good for Bueller. He gets that prove it deal where he can go up there in Boston, and he's gonna get the chance. There's no doubt about that, and I think he's gonna definitely take advantage of it. So good for Bueller. Good move by the Red Sox. You're adding a proven arm into that rotation. Slides in perfect next to Crochet, and yeah, that's what I have on Bueller.
Yep. Um, Phillies made a trade on Friday
Hmm.
or Saturday, whatever. Got your brother excited.
It did. Yeah,
Phillies acquired Jesus Luzardo from Miami Marlins. Um, you heard it from Dave Dombrowski over the week that they're not gonna go big game hunting.
hmm
They made that very clear, which I don't understand why. You're the Phillies.
Me neither.
Your window is slowly starting to close. You know, I don't know why you couldn't go for a big fish here, but hey, I don't run the Phillies, but um, I get it. I guess like what what I mean I don't see how they could have. They're so kind of Phillies are kind of limited on what they could do.
Hmm.
Like they couldn't make a Crochet trade. Like they to me, I don't. I could be wrong, but I haven't looked at the Phillies farm system lately.
It's not
But
that great.
it's not that great, you know. And we've heard this rumor that you want to ship out, maybe Castellanos and Bohm. Like they want to use that for other stuff. So
Hmm.
I understand what the Phillies are doing. I think you. What is he now? Your third best starter in that rotation now, I would think, or
I would
fourth?
I would think he slides in three between Nola and Suarez.
Yeah. So it's I get it, but I'm not liking what I'm seeing out of the Phillies this offseason. They've been very quiet.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, so for me, I'll kind of attack on the move itself. I like it. You're getting Jesus Luzardo, who he's a few years removed from having a very nice season down in Miami. This guy's been with trade rumors for years. And I wanted the Yankees to grab him a few years ago. However, he ends up in Philly, and he slides in. I would say either three or four in the rotation. He's a good arm, man. He's proven, but I am going to double down on what you say about the Phillies. I don't get where their sense is right now. If you're trading Bohm, it's kind of hard for me to believe he's not gone yet. Like this is a guy he's an all-star, man, and he's a proven third baseman. And then you have Schwarber, Castellanos, even Ranger Suarez. You've heard in trade rumors. Um, and the rest of the NL East is getting better, except for Miami. Miami seems to be in this same carousel, 5-year rebuild, and then 1 year doesn't work out, so then you go back into a rebuild. But Washington is putting together a very, very good young core down there, and they're only going to get better. The Mets just signed Juan Soto. They're obviously Steve Cohen is out for blood. He's only going to continue to spend more money. And then you have Atlanta, who is becoming healthy again. And Atlanta's Atlanta. They're always going to have a smart front office and what they do down there. Like you're falling behind in this division. And you mean to tell me you're not going all in this offseason? That's wild to me. Bryce Harper's not getting any younger. He's by far your best player. So you gotta shake some things up there. And it seems like they're not really taking it too seriously. I don't understand that. But on Jesus Luzardo, I like the move. It's you get a proven starter and slide him between Wheeler and or I'm sorry, you slide him behind Wheeler and Nola in the rotation, maybe Suarez, depending on if they trade him or not. Um, but yeah, he's I guess it's good, but I want to see more out of the Phillies.
Yeah. Um, keeping it one more main pitcher. Sean Manaea re-signed with the Mets.
Hmm.
3 years, $75 million. Um,
With deferrals.
with deferrals, yes. Didn't hear any outrage about it.
No.
Didn't just because it's not the Dodgers. Yeah. Now everybody's saying, yeah, you should beat the Dodgers at their own game. But if the Dodgers do it all, it's bad for baseball. How could you do that? I'm never watching the sport again. What the Mets do it, it's okay, no problem. But um, 3 years, 75 million. I had a feeling the Mets were gonna bring back one of these three starting pitchers.
Yeah.
Didn't bring back Severino, but they did bring back Mania after having a career year. Which that's the only thing I'm concerned about. Was like, hey, was his peak
Yeah.
2024? Is that as good as it's gonna get? But maybe he did find something in his mechanics, and listen, it got him a payday. So
Yeah.
listen, the Mets are very limited of what they could do right now. With the Juan Soto stuff and everything, but I like it. I like it. Sean Manaea was very emotional after they lost to the Dodgers last year, and it
Mhm.
almost sounded like he wanted to come back.
Yeah.
So I'm glad he's going back to the Mets. I really am. I think this is I like the move. I don't know, we'll find out probably where else, but I think if it was 4 or 5 years, I think the Mets would have said, "All right, cool, see you.
Yeah.
We're not going past three." So Mets solidifying the rotation.
Yeah. Obviously, like you said, they are limited on what they can do, and this pitching staff is not as good as what I'm like. I'm seeing people get behind this pitching staff, and I'm not there. Sean Manaea being your number one last year is like, don't get me wrong, Sean Manaea is a good pitcher, but in a normal pitching staff, he's probably your third or your fourth. I don't like all the reliance on Sean Manaea, especially after having that career year. His last few seasons they haven't been anything special. He gets that spot every fifth day, and then he pitches. But it hasn't been Cy Young type season or anything. It's been average at best. And last year, good for him. He lit it up, and good for him for getting the payday. Um, but this is where, I mean, obviously deferrals go into it, but when you look at this, it's a 375 contract. That equals out to 25 million a year. Okay. This is what I don't necessarily understand about the pitching market. Max Fried is making 28 million a year. I'm sorry, but there's a big difference between Max Fried and Sean Manaea. Um, but overall, he wanted to go back to New York. I feel as well. Good for him. He got a payday, and the Mets retain a good starter. That's what I have.
Yeah, the rotation next year is going to be Sean Manaea, Kodai Senga, David Peterson, Frankie Montas, Clay Holmes, and your other three options could be Paul Blackburn, Griffin Canning, and Trevor McGill. You better hope the Mets are tiling
You
up
better
those runs.
better hope Juan Soto pans out. Hey,
His words, not
all
mine.
listen, I'm a little, you know, I I have a little connection to that, but no, I'm not getting behind this pitching staff. I'm not. I'm sorry, but you're relying way too much on Sean Manaea here. And like we keep hammering in, like it was a career year. He's never really done this before. And Kodai Senga can't seem to stay on the field. It's very touch and go with this rotation. And you got to score runs here if you're going into the season with a pitching staff like this. That's the way I look at it.
You're asking Shamanaya to be the ace of this team. It should be Senga, but you have no guarantee if he's even going to make his next start.
Exactly.
I hate to be like that, but it's the truth.
That that's too much reliance on him for me. Like I can't get behind a pitching staff like that. I just can't.
Moving on over to the big bats. Um, Christian Walker. He's not going to the Yankees.
He is
He is
not.
going. He is going to the Houston Astros. Um, I get this solidifies their first base. They've kind of had issues with it ever since at the end when Gurriel kind of at the end they were having problems, and then Abreu they were kind of having some issues. Now they got Christian Walker. I can see why other teams stayed away from that. 3 years, 60, 63, I think it was, or something like that. I can
Yeah.
see why the Yankees and other teams were not, yeah, no thanks.
Hmm.
Um, for the Astros, I get it. I get it. They don't like giving players more than five. They've had a first base issue for a couple of years. This solidifies it. And you knew the Diamondbacks were going to pay him.
Yeah.
So I get it. It's crazy. This we'll pull it up. Maybe another time. But are the Astros kind of starting to fall off a little bit?
It's there's definitely there's not that confidence with the Astros as much anymore.
That
Now,
water is not turning into wine anymore.
no, and now don't get me wrong. I still like what they have.
Yeah,
I do. I think they are still going to be a top team in the AL. I'm not saying they're going to miss the postseason. I still think they have good pieces to go off of. And it is the Astros. You need to respect them for what they've done over the last few years, minus 2017, of course. But what they've done and with the teams that they've had, they lost big name guys over the years. Correa, Springer. Now they're losing Tucker and the rest. But you're slotting in Christian Walker, who is he's a big time bat. He really
yeah.
is. That's who I wanted at first base. But I'm glad that the Yankees didn't give him that contract. But like I said, like you said, it makes total sense for the Astros. They needed another bat in there after losing out on or after trading Tucker. You need to pair something with Altuve and Jordan. Now, this screams they're out on Alex Bregman for me. Like, I'm gonna be shocked to see a world where Alex Bregman is back in Houston. Um, so you're losing another bat there, assuming that this move takes them out of Bregman, because Isak Paredes was penciled in to be your first baseman if you were to re-sign Alex Bregman. Well, now Paredes can just shift over to the hot corner, and you have Christian Walker at first base, and that's where my mind immediately went when I heard Christian Walker signed with the Astros. Is where does Bregman play in here? You're not going to get Isak Paredes in a big time trade sending over Kyle Tucker and then not play him or put him as a bench piece. He's going to be in that everyday lineup, and he has good numbers at Minute Maid, or I'm sorry, whatever they renamed it to. It's it just it's a hard world to see where Alex Bregman is back in Houston for me now after signing Christian Walker, but you never know. You never know how it's going to go, but it was a move that it felt like Houston had to make, and I'm glad for Christian Walker. He got a payday, and I think he's going to fit in down there quite nicely. I liked his bat, and I liked what he provided. So yeah, overall good move in my mind.
Their replacement for first base in Arizona, Josh Naylor. I'm sure you're happy he's out of the American League now.
Oh, so glad.
But now he's coming to the NL West, and I told you, I said it when we put it out for that he was signing with Arizona. I can see it now. He is going to be a pain in the ass against the NL West. I
Oh
could
yeah,
see it against the Dodgers. He's gonna be. I can just see it now. He's gonna be hitting, home runs left and right. Let me put it this way: you don't want to catch Josh Naylor when your team's having a bad day because he can destroy you. You know, so I can see it. Yeah, he goes out of one division, but then he goes to another one on my division. So I'm not a fan of this, but um, makes sense. It makes sense for um, the Diamondbacks, and he's coming off a year where he had 31 home runs. The
yeah,
batting average isn't great, under 245, 243 to be exact. But I mean, listen, in this day and age, who cares about that?
yeah.
Um, so I like it for Arizona. I hate it for everybody else in the division.
Yeah, obviously, outsider's perspective from the NL West now. I'm so happy he's out of the American League. He has been a thorn in the Yankees' side for years, man. And whenever we play Cleveland, that's the guy I worry about. He always has good numbers against the Yankees, and he is like he's an emotional ball player, man. And I think that's what I love about him so much. Like I love to hate this guy. That's the type of player he is because I love the way he plays the game. He's a guy that you want on your team, but you absolutely hate that he's not. And he fits into Arizona so nicely. Like I think the fit itself is better than any trade that they could have made. I absolutely love that, he just plays into the underdog mentality. He's done that his entire time in Cleveland, and he's going to continue to do so in Arizona. Arizona, obviously, a few years removed from the World Series, and they're playing in a gauntlet of a division. And he's the type of guy that you want being the underdog in that division. So I absolutely love this move for Arizona, and I think it's an amazing fit. I can't think of many better places for Josh Naylor to play. So I think it's a great move overall.
Jock Peterson going to Texas, playing for the Rangers. Um, I see it. I see the fit. I see it. They're a very home run reluctant, very home run heavy team. So he's gonna fit in nicely with that lineup. Um, gives you more balance on the left-handed side of the plate. You got your heavy right-handed hitters with Garcia and Simeon. Now you got somebody to go with Seager. And then look, Seager and Peterson are reuniting again. Um, Jock Peterson's, not what he once was, but he's still a very good player that can put up some big numbers. He hit 275, drove in 64, and hit 23 home runs. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Texas is a very hitter friendly ballpark.
Yeah.
So those home runs might tick up a bit, might tick up a little bit. So I understand it. Um, and listen, that's your DH, and you can flip them around too in the outfield. So makes sense. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, 100%. This is, and I also don't want this to go unnoticed. We've been kind of dogging on the Rangers for since they won the World Series. They didn't change the team. They let guys go, and they really haven't done much since winning the World Series. They are slowly putting together another like very underrated lineup. I like what they have. They acquired Jake Berger not too long ago, and now they're adding Jock Peterson in. These are two guys who are home run hitters, and they're two guys who you want playing for your team. And you have the supporting cast around Simeon and Seager, and I get it, and I like what I see. I really do, and I definitely think Texas is slowly putting something back together to where they can compete again. And listen, we've been talking about a lot of NL moves here. The AL is kind of wide open. You know, I think that was a big part of why the Yankees made the World Series last year. The AL was wide open. And if there's certain teams who can take advantage of that, I think the Yankees are taking advantage of it right now. I think Detroit should be. Kansas City was in that mix. Cleveland, Houston, and even Seattle too. So if you, as the Rangers, if you look at this and say, you know what, the AL is kind of wide open, the NL's getting stacked. Let's bring some guys in, and I feel like that's kind of what they're doing with Peterson and Berger. So I like the moves that they made, and I think it's a good fit overall. I totally understand. I understand it for both sides. I really do.
And lastly, and I saved this for last because I wanted this is your team. Paul Goldschmidt, come on down to the Yankees. Man, you guys were serious about not wanting Pete Alonso. Man, you guys really were. You guys were joking about that.
Yeah.
Uh, instead, you can take Paul Goldschmidt, who you can make a case his best years are behind him.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, it's a 1 year deal. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
listen, this Yankee team that they're putting together, they would have won 140 games 3 years
In
ago. Yeah,
2017, this team would have been absolutely stacked. No,
I mean, take it away. Yeah, take it away. This is your team. So
yeah, yeah. So obviously, it's not a flashy move. It's a few years ago it would have been. I don't have many thoughts on this. We got rid of Rizzo and we replaced him with Goldschmidt. Pick your poison at that point, right? You're kind of getting the same production. You're getting a low batting average with hopes that you can get over, I don't know, 18 home runs a year. That's kind of what you're banking on. And for me, it's like, I get it. It's a cheap option. It's a 1 year deal that's 12.5 million, and you're getting a former MVP out of that. It's not flashy, and he had a terrible year last year. But the hope is he can come in, provide that veteran leadership, and you get experienced bats in there. Okay, you're you're kind of trying to build a supporting cast around Judge, and I guess at this point you could say Bellinger. Um, yeah, I mean it's not the flashiest move, but I understand it. It's a low risk, high reward move, and who knows? Maybe the Yankees can tap back into a little bit of former Goldschmidt and they do get 25, 30 homers out of him. You never know. And then he could very well be batting fifth, sixth in that lineup, whatever it is. Um, yeah, I mean, you miss out on Walker, and like you just said, they were never in on Alonso, evidently. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not being in on him. I didn't want him. I don't think I think Alonso is going to get much more than what he's deserved, and I don't see the fit for us. So I'm okay with it. It's low risk, high reward, and hopefully you can tap back into some of his potential of his prime years. That's pretty much what you're banking on here.
Yep. We also had some small moves too. Griffin Canny with the Mets. Gio Urshela is now going to Sacramento. Um, Patrick Sandoval is going to Boston. Jose Trevino got traded to Cincinnati. Um, what's his first name? Kepler.
Max
Blank.
Kepler.
Yeah, there you go. I knew it. Max Kepler going to Philly and Santana Cleveland. Um, again, they're not the sexiest moves, but it's something. Um, didn't expect that Trevino trade. Wasn't expecting that.
No, I wasn't either. And I thought they were set at catcher. I knew that they were passing the reins to Austin Wells. He had a phenomenal rookie year, and he's obviously the catcher of the future. Um, but when you look at it, you Trevino's a damn good backup, one of the best defensive catchers in baseball, and you're kind of missing out on that now. So I'm very interested to see where the Yankees go for a backup option. They very well could just call up another minor leaguer or make a very small trade for what we need a backup catcher. Let's just grab this guy. That kind of thing. But yeah, I mean Cincinnati, they're getting a catcher, a good one. And he provides it with the bat too. He's not no pushover with the bat. He's not amazing, but he's not great. Um, this screams the Yankees every single year. They make this underrated trade that goes kind of under the radar, and then they're bringing back a piece in Fernando Cruz, who I'm telling you, Matt Blake is going to do something to him. The one thing that I can always give Brian Cashman is that he comes into every year with a damn good bullpen, and I feel like he's doing it all over again. You got Devin Williams at the back end of that. Now you have Weaver, you got Cruz, and Loizaga's back. Hopefully he stays healthy. I like what they're putting together in the bullpen. And it's a good move for Cincinnati too. You're getting back a catcher who has veteran presence, and he can do a little bit of damage with the bat. And he's one of the best defensive catchers in baseball. Um, for me, on this little list that we have, I think Max Kepler. I think that's an underrated move
Yeah.
like that for Philly. Max Kepler is a few years removed from hitting over 30 homers. This is a guy who you get him on the cheap, and he can very well be you know a very good option in the outfield, and it gives you the flexibility to move either Schwarber or Castellanos. Now, I would think Castellanos, but we'll see where it goes, and it just goes back into what we touched on earlier. Philly needs to do more, so maybe this is a jump into that, but we'll see.
One more thing before we get out of here. and I didn't mention this to you because we were talking about other things. And I just completely forgot. Um, we're gonna do a fun little thing here, real quick. It's Christmas time. Um, I want you to tell me. Every year we all have a Christmas list. Either that
Okay.
we gotta go shopping for people or things that we want. So, Kyle, I want you to tell me the three things on your Christmas list for the Yankees in 2025. Here's the only caveat, though: you cannot say to win the World Series because that's obvious. That's too easy.
Okay.
You should want that.
Yeah, of
So,
course.
three things on your Christmas Yankees wish list. It could be maybe another player you want to sign, or you want this player to do the hit for this much in 20, like whatever. You just can't say winning the World Series because that's too easy.
Okay. So first one, I'm gonna say back to Aaron Judge. I want him. I want him to chase after that record again, man. Yeah, I want him to chase after 62, and I want him to bring home another MVP award. So I'll tie that into one. Um, I want to see. I want to see Jason Dominguez pan out.
Okay.
For years, we've been hearing about this kid, and we gave him a shot. He had Tommy John, and then with Soto last year, he didn't. He was kind of blocked a little bit. I want to see him blossom into that full time player that we have been hoping for and praying for him to turn into ever since we signed him internationally. Um, and the last one, I would. Oh man. Um, let's go with pairing another superstar with Aaron Judge. Right? Give us what we had last year with Soto. We missed out on him, and we're having a. I like what we've done this offseason. I do. Um, I just don't think Bellinger is that. Like I think he's a very
I could
phenomenal
tell you
player.
he wasn't. Oh, I'll tell you. At the end there, he wasn't.
I don't think he's gonna be that, and I'm not asking him to be that. But he does have big shoes to fill because I'm looking at Cody Bellinger right now saying, okay, we need some more production out of you. We need somebody to pair with Judge to carry us through the regular season. Um, and then just as a completely fun one,
Sure.
I want Roki Sasaki to win Cy Young
Whoa.
with the New York Yankees.
Okay, there you go. I like that. Um,
Let's hear yours, Melo.
Number one, and I mean, see, I'm debating on which one I should put as number one, but I guess for my first one, I want Mookie Betts to be an elite shortstop next year. Um, I don't understand why they're putting him at shortstop. Well, I do know Betts wants to be in the infield again,
Yeah.
and I think the organization promised him, "Hey, we believe in you as an infielder, just not this year. Like, let's give you a full off season because remember, he got thrown into the fire in the middle of spring training.
Yeah.
Gavin Lux had the yips, and it was very clear that he was not going to be able to make the throws and perform at shortstop. So it was like, hey, we need Mookie Betts to perform here. Mookie Betts, stepped up and say, I'll do it. So, and wasn't great, which I mean, I don't think any of us were expecting him to do, be great out of the gate, like, just but um they when they moved him back to right field because it was clearly the best option with Miguel Rojas coming back, with Gavin Lux going to second base, getting rid of Jason Hayward. It was like, hey, we need you back out there in right field, but we'll make a promise to you. Next year, we'll rethink about it again. We'll talk about it again, and we'll give you a full off season to get ready for shortstop. So I want to see that. Mookie Betts, the elite shortstop. Number two, I want to see Shohei Ohtani healthy and pitch next year. I want him to make at least 20 starts, at least. Um, we've been hearing about this ever since we signed him. That he was gonna. We signed him to do both, to pitch and hit. So we saw the pitching. I mean, we saw the hitting last year: 50 home runs, 50-50, everything. Now I want to see the pitcher. So my dad can stop asking me when's he gonna pitch. It's like, Dad, he's 50-50. Like, that's never happened before. Yeah, that's great. When's he gonna pitch? It's like, so I want Shohei Ohtani to pitch, um, make at least 20 starts next year. And the last one, there's so many ways I can go with this, but I really want Teoscar Hernandez back. I really do. Like, it's getting to the point where if he leaves, I'm not going to be as bummed out.
Hmm.
Now, listen, he doesn't owe the Dodgers anything. Yeah, but from the stuff that I've been hearing, it's only like a $2-3 million difference, and
Yeah.
he doesn't want the deferrals in there. He was a big reason why the Dodgers had the success they did in the postseason. Sometimes confidence is contagious, and you saw that with the Dodgers last year. You saw that, when Shohei Ohtani had a big home run off of Dylan Cease. You saw Teoscar hit a grand slam in the postseason. Like, it really felt like the other guys in that clubhouse fed off of that emotion and they fed off of that confidence. And he fell in love with the city. And the fans fell in love with him. I really want Teoscar back. I really do. It's gonna bum a lot of people out if he's not back next year. Because he really fell in love with this team and the fans really fell in love with him. So there's my three things. Without saying the World Series. That was pretty good.
I like those. I can get behind those.
Thank you. And I can get behind yours also. I really
Yeah,
can. Um I think that's gonna do it for episode 108.
I think so.
Enjoy your Christmas. You
Yes.
know, enjoy your time with family. Enjoy your time with loved ones. And we will see you next Monday for the final episode of 2024.
What a year, man.
What a year.
What a
Yes.
year.
What a year. Indeed. What a year, huh? We will revisit this one more time. We might sit here and watch all of Game 5 again. That's what we're going to do. How
Time
about
out.
game 1? How about game 1? How about that? We watch that?
That was just heartbreaking, man.
Final episode of 2024 next year. We will revisit some of our favorite memories and favorite moments of the baseball season and hopefully some other signings too.
Yeah.
Kyle, Merry Christmas. Everybody, Merry Christmas. Hopefully Santa's good to you. If you don't believe in him, you suck. We will see you next week. Adios.
Later.